welcome to the video. This is really the second part of my current series of videos looking at Bruder models. Having converted the D90 Land Rover to full radio control, I've been really pleased with that, and after towing its trailer around for a bit, I've decided that it might be quite good fun to do something which I've always wanted to do, and that's have a radio control car towing a boat and being able to launch the boat into the water. So for this next video, I was thinking about what I would use in order to do that. The first thing that I needed to really decide was the boat that it was going to tow. So I wanted to be around the 16th scale, but I didn't want something huge that the Land Rover wouldn't be capable of towing. So I wanted something kind of a little bit bigger than Land Rover. I also wanted it to be in scale. I looked online, and then it occurred to me that one of the boats I'd already got, which is an old Nikko Sea Ray radio control boat, which I actually converted a year or two ago, and you'll see a video on that. I'll put a link. I thought that might be quite good. This is the boat which I'm thinking of, even though I believe it is meant to be 1/20th scale. If you look at the Bruder man, I'll just put that there. You can see actually the scale isn't going to be too ridiculous. The only thing which really gives it away is the steering wheel, and in order to get a steering wheel a similar size, both the Land Rover and this tractor come with this extension for steering, and that is about the right size wheel on the end of it for the man to hold. In fact, he might even hold it. I suppose it does. And so I was thinking that if I was to do something with the interior here and use this part here for the steering wheel, I could actually get something which is quite good. Now, the further modification of the boat will be subject of another video. What I wanted to focus on here was making a trailer that the Land Rover could tow, and that actually it will be capable of backing into water and hopefully the boat being able to move off, and if possible the boat being able to come back onto it and the Land Rover tow it away. Now, the trailer which comes with the Land Rover, this one here, which is designed to hold this digger and I think one or two other Bruder models. It's very nice, and before carving it about I had a quick look online and came to the conclusion that actually the trailer which comes with the John Deere tractor is probably going to be a better bet. It's got this sort of triangular effect here. Actually, I'll just move it out of the way. Yeah, it's got a triangular front here, which I think is more keeping with a boat trailer, and the double wheels at the back here means that it's probably going to spread the load a bit better. So I thought that was probably better for towing the boat. The first and easiest thing to do is to take off this bed, and that's pretty easy to do because it's just meant to clip off. So there are a couple of clips at the back here. That's off. You slide the whole thing forward, and that's off. And this might be useful for some other project in the future, maybe on the back of a lorry or something. I don't tend to throw things away, and they tend to reappear slightly later in another form. So this is the basic trailer. I think that the boat probably ought to go on it quite nicely. there's some stuff here that I'm going to have to get rid of in the middle, and the first thing really that occurred to me was the fact that these axles are locked, and I think that it's going to be challenging enough for this Land Rover, seeing as it hasn't got a differential. But I think that having locked wheels with an amount of weight on them, I think it put even more strain on the Land Rover, and I think it's something which can be avoided. So the first thing which I've thought about is how to get this arrangement so that the wheels can move independently. I did think about just chopping off the axles, but one of the useful features is that you've got these front axles here which slide up and down, so I really want to keep the complete axle. The axles are embedded in the wheels, so there's no easy way of making this such that the wheel will move freely on the axle. I suppose I could make new axles, longer ones, and then have them going straight through the wheels and putting nuts in the end or something, but I really wanted to keep the look as much as possible as it currently is. I didn't really want to have to source new wheels and tires, and I think that these look quite good. I think that they're in keeping with the Land Rover. So I've come up with a solution for dealing with it. Using the rear axles out of the Land Rover as a guide, and these axles are just over 4mm in diameter. I thought, well, what I need to be able to do is somehow chop these axles, sheathe them in something, and then they'll be able to turn, and to stop them just falling out, to have some collars on the inside here, here and here. I don't tend to throw very much away, so for the joining it occurred to me that maybe an aerial out of an old toy, and I do tend to keep things like this, might have the right diameter sheath on it here to be able to join two of these together. So I chopped the end of the aerial off with the Dremel, and on the very largest size it's actually a perfect fit to go around here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this last piece, slice off the end there so that it comes out, and chop it in half to go across these axles. To do the chopping I'm going to use the Dremel because it's the best way of cutting it without bending it anyway, because if I was to distort this it would be likely to bind on the shaft. So I'll just go and do that piece of cutting. And there we have it. Two roughly equal shafts which are going to be able to go on there. Right, the next thing to do is to cut these two shafts, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the Dremel again to do that, because it's going to be much easier than a hacksaw or anything like that. Right, that's those done, and if I was to push the two holes together, you can see that we've now got a pretty solid axle that can turn. Now the other challenge with this is that if I was just to push these together, there's no real way of stopping them just sliding out. So that looks pretty good, but you have the sliding out problem. The solution which I've come up with for that is to use some random little black plastic pieces which I had lying around, and I'm sure anything really would do for this, and to drill these out to 4mm, and I'll just do one of them here. So, and these are actually a very tight fit on these axles, so I don't think I'm even going to have to glue them inside. So then taking my piece of aerial, pushing that there, that there, and there you have it. Wheels which won't come off, but actually move quite freely independently of each other. There's no real danger here of this sliding too far either way, because it hasn't got that much movement in it, so I'm just going to leave that as it is. I'll just do the other one quickly. Right, that's that all done. You can see that the wheels all spin quite happily in all the directions, and when it's on its base you've got something which is much easier to turn than it was before. The next thing to think about is to clear out some of the frame and structure, probably as much as I can, to get the boat in and as low as possible. I'm going to start off by removing everything, including these parts here over the axles, because I think it will be strong enough, and this back part here. Okay, that's the first piece out. Last part of that. Let's see how the boat sits on there. Now I need to make sure that the boat goes onto the Land Rover without any problems, and it looks to me as if with the trailer on, the spare tire is hitting. If I just take this off for a moment, I quite like the way the boat is sitting evenly, which means that the centre of gravity of the boat and trailer must be somewhere between these two wheels, which is good. If I just take the camera off for a moment, you should be able to see this white fin on the bottom of the boat is what is stopping it falling off, but the boat certainly moves around a lot very easily on its own. When that's pushed all the way back, it actually misses the spare tire without any problem. So what I'm going to think about is something at the front in here which will keep the boat in place. Having done a little bit of thinking, I've come up with the idea that if I use a couple more of these random plastic bits, and these were actually push buttons out of a wired remote control from, actually I think it was from that Porsche 928, and if you've seen that video you'll know the car which I'm talking about. And I kept those just because they were random small pieces of plastic and they always seem to come in handy. I'm just going to move the camera down again. Right, I need to just chop a little bit more off that handle. Shame really, but yeah. Right, so the boat naturally sits between those two. Doesn't want to go anywhere. I can use the stand if I want to, but we don't really need it. And when I put the back of the truck on, you can see how there's a gap on quite an amount of angles, so the boat won't actually hit the back of it. So the next test to do will be to see if the truck is capable of pulling the boat along. Okay, so I think the conclusion to this is quite pleased with the trailer. The truck is certainly able to tow it on a relatively flat surface and manoeuvre it around, so I think that freeing up the rear wheels on the trailer was worth doing. I ended up doing one further modification. I'll just show you that. If you look here on the trailer, what I've done is I've actually reversed the arm that was there as a stand, because it clearly doesn't need it. The boat will stay there, and I sort of chopped it and hacked it all around a little bit, and what that does is it provides something, it provides something so that if the boat does slide forward, it pushes it back into place where it's held by this fin underneath, which I'm going to leave in place. I did try it briefly in some water. I put I put a little water into the plastic tray over there and set up a ramp, etc. And the depth of the water, given how low the boat sits in the water, meant that the Land Rover would have needed to have submerged itself much more than would be sensible. The motor would have been completely underwater, and the electronics in this haven't really been set up to withstand all of that. So I think that in conclusion, the bad news is that the Land Rover isn't able to launch this boat itself, and I suppose the good news is I'm going to have to think about converting a Bruder crane lorry to be able to lift it off the back of the trailer and lower it into the water. I'm sure that's something that's going to make all of this even more fun. But having said all of that, really pleased that I've been able to make something to hold that boat. That boat has been put back in the loft, and to be quite honest, it was very unlikely to ever be used again given all of the other models that I've got. But I think that this sort of Bruder phase I'm going through is probably going to give it a new lease of life. The next video which I intend to make is going to be making this boat more Bruder scale and giving that a run on the local lake. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video, found it useful, found it interesting, maybe given you some thoughts yourself, or maybe you've got some thoughts for me. Thank you for watching.